be alive in this land of ours. Good to drive in this land of ours.
Hello, Canada hockey fans in the United States.
The Hockey Time Machine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hockey Time Machine. I'm Glenn Dreyfus. Tonight's show is going to be a lot like the World Hockey Association. Chaotic, at times disorganized, but a whole lot of fun. Alec, let me ask you, your one WHA season, 1975-76, that was the middle of the 3 seasons that San Diego spent the Mariners as part of the WHA. Was it easier or was it harder to play in a beautiful wintertime destination like San Diego?
Well, first of all, let me say that it's a great thing to be involved in this, and playing in the WHA was an incredible experience for me. I got a cold too, by the way. I hope you can understand that. But I came out of Western Canada Hockey League and played with oh geez, here we go. God, I got a mind blank.
I think you played with
Trottier and Sutter. Holy smokes, thank you. Trottier and Sutter, and I scored 46 goals, and then when I got drafted, I was drafted, and my agent Ron Perrick said you should go to the WHA and play. You'll get lots of ice time. And I thought, well, yeah, Buffalo is the other club that took me, and I said, yeah, we'll go down and I'll play in the WHA. It sounds like a great opportunity, and Gordie Howe and Bobby Hull and all that stuff. And I suited up and down I went to try out. My contract was 7,000 minor league and 23,000 major. So it was pleasure, I can tell you. But I went down, and I was at the pool, and and didn't know any of the players, and all the players come in. And one of the things that happened was there's a fellow named Goldthorpe. I think you might recognize that name.
Uh-huh.
And he came into me with some nunchucks and things, and I thought I was a goal scorer, but I did have some pretty good touts in the Western Canada Hockey League and fighting, and left-handed, and took some boxing. So I knew how to handle myself. But he came up to me at the pool and started waving these things, and he says, "I'll see you on the ice." And I gave him the well, F you, and I'll see you on the ice. And so the next practice, or the first practice we had, there we are, and we're going up and down the ice, and he's hacking me, and I'm chopping him back, and it's going on, and so yeah, it's going to happen. And we drop the gloves, and he's jumping around and throwing punches, and I'm watching him, and then I just left hand and hit him right on the jaw and knocked him out. And I step back, and I'm going, "Oh, welcome to the WHA," and he gets up and starts chasing me and trying to get me, and all the guys are saying, "Bob, you got beat up by Tiny." Now that was one of the introductions into the WHA, which was possibly some of the toughest guys that played in hockey at that time, as we all know. But my best story, and quickly I'll tell you, this was my first road trip. I played in the kid line with Kevin Morrison, Kevin Devine, and Joe Morris, and they called us the kid line. So we checked all the big lines. And first road trip into Houston. And there's Gordie, and I'm warming up, looking at going, holy, there's Gordie Howe, and I'm on the ice with him, and I'm going to be checking him. Well, game goes on, and I'm in the corner, and Gordie comes up with the elbow right into the nose, Yeah, that's the guy. Right into the nose. And I turned to him in the corner and I go to cross check him and I go, oh, no, that's Mr. Hockey. And I turned around and came back to the bench. And the magician, Andre Lacroix, and now I got the stuff up my nose. And yeah, you got me pretty good. So Andre's down at the other end of the bench. This is my first road trip. I didn't know any of the guys. All my teammates. I made the team, and here we are. And I got the towel, and he looks down. He says, "They called me Tidy Bowl because that was the nickname that I Tidy Bowl." And he said, "Tidy Bowl, you take that from him. You take that from everybody." And I'm going, "Okay, 19-year-old kid." And this is honest God truth. The next shift, we're out in the in our end, and the puck's in the corner, and Gordy's in the slot, and I can see him, and it's coming, and I know the puck's coming, so I come off my wing, and I come onto it, and the puck, just before it gets to him, I cross-checked him, and down he goes, and he turned around and broke his stick on his knees, broke his stick over my leg, and I went and threw my gloves off, like this.
Well, you're going to fight Gordie Howe.
Listen to this. So both benches are emptying now, and Gordy's on his knees, and I grabbed onto him and pulled him in, and I said, "Gordy, I'm in trouble, aren't I?" He said, "Yeah, you are, kid." And, we didn't wear helmets back then, and all I could feel were the fists coming down on the back of my head as I was holding on to him. But I can tell you, I have many, many old great memories. And, Andre Lacroix, the magician, that guy was magic. And just learned a lot from playing with those guys and had a great time. So really appreciate this. And thank you for listening.
Well, I didn't say I was done with you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all I had in my script. No,
you still didn't tell me if it was better or worse playing in a warm weather city.
Oh, no, well, we would go and have the pre-gamer and the skate and the pre-gamer, and then out. This is honest to God truth too. So we'd go out and be lying by the pool. I was in Mission Bay on Riviera Drive, and then have a sleep on the cot there, and then go in and get into the game. Well, the first time we went into Winnipeg, we were skating around, and we're all tanned. They were all white, and it was like, holy shit! No. It was magic in that town back then in the 70s. I mean, the girls were abundant. The parties were, you get fined if you didn't come to the bar on time. Team meetings. I mean, it was just, and the hockey was amazing. As you know, all the players that played in that league were just incredible. The Minnesota Fighting Saints was a little tough, though. That was a hard road trip. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, Kim Claxton was on that team. There's a lot of guys that you had to hold the stick up and go, okay, I got another dozen in the dressing room if you want this one. But really, just a great experience and cherished my time there.
All right, Alex, we're going to have you as part of our panel here now, but we're going to try to reestablish contact with Morris. So let's see how this works.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Through Peters?
Yep.
First of all, I want to say hello to Alex. Hi. It's been many, many years because, you had a heck of a line there with Brian Trottier and Sutter on left wing, and you on right. That was a very, very good team. And with myself being with Medicine Hat Tigers, we had many tough battles with you, and you were a very good goal scorer in junior. I think 40, 45 plus.
Yeah, you're right. That 46 is what I scored, and it was that was an amazing team, and the league back then was such a great league. All the players that played in all throughout that league, New Westminster Bruins with all their team. Boy, that was something else. Yeah,
and it was tough hockey. Extremely tough hockey. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, Morris, fighting. I don't know where they got this thing about me being a fighter, but I did fight, and I took boxing, and I was left-handed, and I was a good fighter, but I didn't like fighting. It scared the shit out of me, and I didn't want to do it. But you get me mad, and I always did really well fighting. And once I dropped the gloves, it was a game on. But it's a really wild game. You know, the emotions of people that don't like it or have to do it. It's interesting. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I cannot believe you had the courage or the foolishness to cross-check Gordie Howe in the slot.
There's 19.
And you actually got away with no blood.
Oh God!
Bleeding out of that? Oh my God!
Yeah.
That was because I saw a few guys do that, and Gordie had a saying: he wasn't about getting even; it's about getting one up.
Well, you know, the other thing about that was there was two things that happened. I got a lot of respect from my bench, and then they either thought I was absolutely crazy or tougher than nails. And I think the other team kind of looked that way at me too. Like, what? You just did
Really?
that. I mean, it just happened. And that's the way I played the game. I didn't think it too much. I just went in and did whatever I thought was best for the.
Hey, Luke, you played with Gordie. Was it a true story? Because Gordie told me it happened. And if Gordie told me it happened, I got to believe it happened, although I have no video of it. That in one line brawl against Birmingham, that Durbano was pounding away on Marty, and Gordie picked him up by his nostrils. Is that a true story?
You know what? Gordie did that to somebody, but I don't think it was Durbano.
Okay.
I don't think it happened in that situation. But I did see Gordie one time when somebody was on top of one of our guys, and Gordie just came in from behind and reached in behind and grabbed him by the nostrils. And boy, that guy came off pretty quick. So that was so I saw Gordie do it more than once. I'm not remembering Durbano though.
Oh man, he was strong.
Yeah, but Birmingham, they also Minnesota. I never really played against Minnesota when they had an incredibly tough team, but I've heard lots about it. But Birmingham for a while had a very tough squad. They had some, and that's when they had the baby Bulls. So they had these 6 incredible young players combined in with some very tough players. And for a while, they actually had a fairly good hockey team, but extremely, extremely tough and dangerous to play against.
Their other nickname was the Birmingham Bullies.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and Durbano was
psycho.
He was a little bit crazy. Yeah. The Durbano story was one time he somehow ended up on the power play, and he was in behind his own net, and so we were waiting for him to come out, and he was back there, and he was making all sorts of head fakes and moves, but he was in behind his own net, not doing anything, and everybody on his team was waiting, and so they would go and circle back, and he would move, and fake, but he wouldn't bring the puck out. And so then they'd come back and they'd circle again. So this happened a few times. Finally, he came out in a pass. But then as he was skating down the ice, he was skating along our bench. And as he went by our bench, he pitchforked his stick into the bench. And there were sticks. So as he was doing this, he was hitting sticks. So sticks were flying all over the place as he went by our bench. And luckily, he missed. He didn't get anybody. But the sticks were, like, my stick went flying. And so that was a.
Well, I've got on tape the game in Winnipeg the year before you got there, Luke, where it was a bench clearer and he came off and cross-checked Bobby like full. Bobby was just standing there and he came from his bench full speed, just laid the lumber, snapped his stick on Bobby. You know, I mean, it was just totally nuts. That was the same year. I don't know if it was the same brawl, but it was the same year that Hansen ripped Bobby's toupee off in front of the Jets bench, and you know, I still got it on tape. He grabs Bobby, and Bobby moves or whatever, and the toupee comes off, and Hansen throws it down like it's a rat or something, and they all jump back because there's this rug on the ice, and
wow.
and Bobby.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
I've got it on video. I got it on video, and in fact, I interviewed Dave about it a couple of years back, and Bobby ran. It was right directly in front of the gate at the Jets bench, This is when there was still the visitors bench on one side, Jets bench on the other, and Bobby, it was right at the gate. And if if I didn't have it on video, Bobby was just a split second, down the tunnel, and we all thought, well, Bobby's not coming back. 3 minutes later, Bobby comes back with one of Ulf's Jofa red helmets. Scored 3 goals. Only 3 goals he's ever scored with a helmet on. Scored them all in one game.
Cool. Good story.
Hey, let me interrupt for a second. Laura, can we bring Rick Smith on to join us? He's been patiently waiting.
Get rid of me and bring Rick on.
Oh, Peter, you don't have to go.
Okay.
But I wanted to say hi to Rick as well. Thank you for your patience, Rick. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, gentlemen.
There's one addendum to that Bobby Hull story, which I don't know if it's any more true than any other parts, but it's what I read, which is that was it Hansen or Carlson who took the toupee off, Peter? Dave Hansen. So he goes back up. They have a face-off, and he goes back up to Hull and says, "I am so sorry. I don't know what got into me." And Bobby says, "Hey, don't worry about it, kid. It was time for a new toupee anyway."
That's true story. True story.
So, Rick, let me ask you. You sandwiched about 200 games in the WHA, around about 700 more in the NHL. And when you originally went to the Minnesota Fighting Saints, was that more about going to the Saints or trying just to get out of Oakland?
Well, just to give you a little bigger picture, we were fortunate enough in 1970 to win the Stanley Cup. And we were in the penthouse, and they were making the run. I was on the team in 72 in February, and they decided to trade for Carol Vadnais. They wanted to make the Bruins defense Bob and Carol, Ted, and Dallas. And that was sent away and met Charlie Finley. So I'll give you the story. The best thing with Charlie Finley, I don't know of any team at that time flew first class. And we flew 747 up in the lounge. We had reserved seats in the lounge. So credit Charlie. Unfortunately, the team had a lot of trouble, and I think they voted them and verified the fact that we were the worst team ever in the history of hockey or the NHL. Anyway, you're right. It was time to get out. And I was kind of interested in the Minnesota Fighting Saints. No, I was interested in WHA. Didn't know much about it, but after a game in Oakland, we went to Sam's Hofbrau all the time, and we're sitting by the bar, and Charlie Finley came in and said, "Hey, I want to buy my boys a jug of draft beer." And I said, "We're drinking bottled beer." "Oh," he said, "I like you, beer. I like you. You got to stay." So I said, "I don't think so." And within 2 hours, Glenn Sonmore from the Minnesota Fighting Saints showed up. He was on a tour that day. Well, that was probably about 6 o'clock, and we were at Sam's Hofbrau, and at 12:30, we were in Arnie's timeout, about 50 miles away, and Glenn was still dancing on the dance floor, and I said, "Glenn, I got to go home." So, well, first drive me back. So I had to drive him all the way back to his hotel. By the time we said goodnight, or see you, buddy, or actually he wasn't speaking all that well, but I said, "I'm coming to the WHA with the Minnesota Fighting Saints."
And what were those teams like once you arrived in Minnesota?
The Wild Wild West. Glenn and Harry Neal. It was a first-class operation. They treated us like $1 million. We had a 17,000 brand new 17,000 seat building in St. Paul. It was perfect for hockey. We outdrew the Minnesota North Stars. We challenged them. They were afraid to play us. It was just a magnificent experience. We were all part of the community. St. Paul, little town. We had a great time. Unfortunately, our owners, well, first of all, we had local guys. They were great, but they sold out to the 3M third generation. So they got all the money in the world, right? 3M. Anyway, unfortunately, the second generation 3M owned the North Stars, Smokey Ordway, and he cut them off. He cut them off the money. They shut down the trust. Whatever they did, our owners looked around and said, "We have no money."
Mm.
So unfortunately, the team folded. It was a very sad story. But in between, we had all kinds of fun. I'm wearing my, I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, let me get it here for you. Still proud to wear the Team Canada 74 jacket. We got a kind of a neat emblem here. Whoops, I just got having a little trouble with this, aren't I? But anyway, tremendous experience to play with Team Canada 74. I love the stories about Gordy, Bobby, everybody, Andre Lacroix. I've got a picture. Just bear with me for half a second. I got props. This one from the Toronto Star, and it says, "Repent, you skeptics. Team Canada's record of satisfying victory. We tied the Russians in Quebec. Frank Mahovlich was in cold on Trechak, and Trechak got a blocker on it, or we would have won 3-4-3. It was 3-3 tie. Now we go to Toronto, and we beat them 5-2, something like that. And we were on a roll. It was sensational. Then, unfortunately, things kind of dipped. We had a game in Winnipeg that just didn't work. Well, let me show you before I leave this stuff.
Yeah.
That's the very famous. Here we go. Give you a good picture of it. I think that's the best poster in hockey, to be honest with you. Well, Keith did it, but anyway, caricatures of all the guys, and obviously, I'm very proud to see that here.
Wow.
So, bang, just broke it. So, geez, I did it too. Anyway,
Yeah.
so then we go to Winnipeg, and I give the management all the credit in the world. They said, if you come to training camp, everybody gets to play. And unfortunately, a team that had done so well, a tie and a win, all of a sudden was kind of all over the place. And another key thing, Jerry Cheever's father-in-law died at the rink in Maple Leaf Gardens. And Cheevers was looking up in the seats and goes, "Geez, my dad's up there. My father-in-law's there." No, he isn't. His father-in-law died.
Oh.
So not an easy thing to do. So Cheesy missed game 3 in Winnipeg. Basically, it didn't work. So maybe I'm giving you too much information here. Bear with me for a second. Billy Harris said the very best period of hockey he'd ever seen. Billy Harris, right? He was the coach. All those Stanley Cups with the Leafs. He said the very best period of hockey I've ever seen was period 1 in Vancouver. Bobby got 3, Frank got 1, and Gordy got 1. And Gordy had his hat trick in the first period, like an assist and a fight sort of thing. But that team, it was as good as we got. We were tied in Canada. You could say we take a mulligan in Winnipeg, and theoretically we were good competition. We should have said, "Thank you very much, we're done now." Russia didn't work, but it was a great experience. Proud to represent our country, and just to say one more word, I think I might be saying too much here, but we weren't just representing our country. We were representing the WHA, and we knew what was at stake. If we did well, we had all kinds of good things coming. If we didn't do well, they'd disown us. And, well, they kind of did. Canada they said, "We're with you, win or tie." Anyway, take off from there.
Well, what a series that was. I've got the Labatt film that they did, like an hour documentary that was spectacular. And one of my favorite pieces, it was put to music, and it was a slow-mo piece. I don't remember. I think it was the game in Winnipeg. And anyway, Bobby lines up Yakushev and just perfectly clean takes Yakushev out, and he just goes all flying in the air. It was one of my favorite shots ever. The only one I liked better was a shot of Gordy, and I've got this on film that I put on video that I put to music for one of the events, and it was Gordy going behind the net, and Andre Lacroix comes the other way, and Gordy's elbow comes up, and you went flying, man. you went ass over tea kettle. Gordy was pretty tough in those corners like that.
Can I just interrupt, guys? Apologize. I won't do this to you again. I promise. Maybe. Let's pat Paul Pascal in the back for all he's done with hockey. This podcast, right?
You're not kidding.
Paul Pascal found the tapes. Nobody, remember, said they disowned us. So they threw the tapes away and they hid them in the archives in Ottawa. Paul Pascal found them and he got them to me. He said, "Here, just a little present for you." Can you imagine that? That was like 20 years later. He said, "Here's a little present for you." And then I think Canadian Tire published them. But anyway, Paul deserves all the credit in the world.
Yeah.
And the hat goes off to you, Paul.
What a great series. Andre is with us finally.
Andre,
leading scorer in the history of the World Hockey Association.
Hey guys, how are you guys?
Good to see you, Andre.
Same here, guys. Thank you.
Andre.
You look great. Everybody looks great.
We get better looking every day.
You look like you could still play. Why would my jacket doesn't fit anymore?
Hey, Andre, I skated for 2 hours today on a lake. We went about 5 miles, and my wife passed me 100 passes.
Wow.
Yeah, she's got a pretty good. She puts the mustard on it pretty good.
Good.
Isn't it fun out there when you can shoot the puck and it goes forever?
Oh, yeah. I shot the puck and went and chased it and went for 5 miles.
Hey, one of the things, and Rick brings up something that leads into something that the WHA was really an innovator in, which was international play.
Yeah.
Games against Swedish teams, games against Russian teams, not just that 74 series, which was a classic, but also games that actually counted in the WHA standings. So it was really, and I like you guys to bat this around, the WHA was really an innovator in introducing people not only to European players, but to European teams.
Well, that's what happened when the Jets went over and played in Sweden, Finland, and Czechoslovakia for a 75 training camp. And it was basically a reciprocation because the year before, Ulf Anders and Lars-Erik Schuberg and Kurt Larson came over. But Andre, you being, and Alex being in, maybe you weren't there when they were in San Diego, but Andre was. Andre, the average North American player didn't take too kindly to the Swedes coming invading their territory, did they?
I guess not. And I think and I think one of the reasons I think they always brought up was the fact that they were taking the position of the Canadian and American players.
Yeah.
Okay. But they were such good hockey players. I mean, they changed the game completely. That line in Winnipeg, I don't think there was a line in hockey like that line in Winnipeg, to be honest with you. And they changed the game completely. But, the one thing I want to bring up is the fact that the WHA has done so much for the NHL. And the NHL, a lot of NHL players never appreciated what the WHA has done for them, to be honest with you. Okay? A lot of players that went into the NHL was because of the WHA. Otherwise, they would have been in the minors.
Yeah.
Okay. They would not have made the money that they made if it wasn't for the WHA.
Right.
So I was always upset when I heard players from the NHL try to downgrade the WHA because the WHA was the best thing in the world that happened to the NHL. And that's the best thing that happened to the players as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish more people would appreciate what the WHA has done for hockey.
Yeah,
That's going to do Whistler.
Well, this is a moment. This is the $1 million check that Bobby Hull showed off from the WHA, and that was the start. In fact, 67 players came from the NHL for the very first season of the WHA, and the WHA had amazing star power. And to Andre's point, never again could the NHL owners be quite so dismissive, whether it was in terms of salaries or in terms of just how the players were treated, because the players then had an alternative.
Well, Gordy,
Don't forget all of us that jump league. Don't forget all of us that jumped to the WHA. We took a huge gamble because we were going to be blackballed by the NHL if it didn't work out. And I think that everybody that played in WHA was there. Obviously, we made more money than in the NHL, but also we want to make sure that WHA survived because WHA was good to us.
Well, and Andre, to follow up on that, I have read that the players who were the stars in the WHA were by and large loyal to the league because they felt they not only had to take care of themselves, but the players who maybe didn't have quite the talent, and if there was no WHA, wouldn't have a pro league to play in.
And also, and Morris can talk to about that, and I know I can talk about it in San Diego as well, and Alec can talk, and Rick can talk about it. All the teams in the WHA, everybody on each team was a family. Everybody cared for each other. Everybody wanted to help each other. Yeah. You know, when you talk about Gordy, Bobby, all the superstars, but everybody was treated equally as far as the players on each team, because we want to make sure that we survive. And that's why we needed everybody to be basically on the same wavelength.
Hey, Andre, can I jump in here?
Absolutely.
You recall our team was folding.
Yes.
And we had a team vote for players. And I was telling you what I signed my contract for, which wasn't very much. But what happened was the team decided to play for the home gate receipts.
We became the owner, Alec. We were the owners.
We were the owners. And we kept that team together. I want to tell you something, mister. That was an experience that was unbelievable as family goes. Family is what you're talking about.
Ron Ingram was a coach and general manager. And we met on a weekly basis to make sure we had enough finances. They give us an option. We could fold. Some of us could go to other teams. Okay. And we decide now we want to stick together, even if we didn't get paid.
Hey, and Andre, I made way more money in that time than I did when I was getting paid normally.
No, that was great, though. That was awesome.
And we went into the playoffs and did really well, too. We went into the second round, and that was something else, too.
And we had good crowd. People came from the beach to come to the hockey game.
Fantastic
story.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to take 20 seconds and show you a little Andre Lacroix's magic.
Now in pressed it to Andre Lacroix. Looking to center it. A score! Andre Lacroix was deflected. We'll have to wait and see who gets the goal. But Lacroix's centering attempt was deflected. And the Arrows increased their lead to 5-3. I think Lacroix got the goal.
You got a lot of jerseys, Andre.
Yeah. I had them all, by the way. The only one I don't have was the Chicago Blackhawks.
Wow.
Because when I played in Chicago after the last game, the trainers were waiting by the locker room door to get your jersey. They were afraid you would walk away with it.
Oh.
Give it to us. But I have all my jerseys of the team I played for.
Wow.
Hey, Andre, 251 WHA goals, 547 assists. Yeah. So you were an early adopter of the WHA. You jumped to the Philadelphia Blazers right at the beginning in 1972. After 5 NHL seasons, why did you decide to make the jump?
Well, I was not happy in Chicago. I didn't like my stay there. They didn't let me play my game. I had to change my style to play in Chicago, and that didn't work out. And then I received a phone call from an attorney from Philadelphia. He said, Andre, he said, I've watched you play with the Flyers, and he said, I just got a franchise in the WHA, and I want you to come back to Philadelphia. And he said, I have no idea what you're making, but he said, I'll double your salary and give you a 5-year deal. I said, I'm gone. At the time, in Chicago, I was making $31,000 a year.
Wow.
And when they found out I was going to switch league, they never had any intention of giving me a contract, but when they heard I was going to jump, they offered me a contract, and I knew that they were going to trade me if I signed a contract. And I had no intention of signing with Chicago.
How much harder was it to keep up your scoring pace when the teams you played for in Philly, New York, San Diego, and Houston kept moving or going out of business?
I had great wingers. I had great players playing with me. There's no way in the world I would have accomplished what I've done in hockey with all the great players I played with. And I mean, I was a center, and we understood each other, and I had great goal scorers that I played with, and I knew that if I gave them the puck, that probably 9 out of 10, they would put the puck in the net. So I was very fortunate to play. Everywhere I played, I had some great players that I played with, and that's why I had so much success.
And what's your enduring memory, Andre, of the WHA? When you think back, what's your fondest memory?
I think my fondest memory is the fact that we kept the league going. And I think that when we merged with the NHL knew they were in trouble because the WHA was going to survive even if they didn't merge with the NHL. Because we had great ownership at the end in the WHA. And I'm very proud to be one of the first guys to jump league and promote the league and have the league be as successful as it was.
Hey, Rick Smith, you showed us some photos. I want to show you a photo if you can see this.
He looks the same.
This is you in your Fighting Saints days. Who's the guy in the glasses?
That's Jack Carlson.
That's the Carlson that didn't make the movie.
Yeah. He was playing for us, so he couldn't be in the movie.
Well, I'll tell you, I started with those guys were teenagers, 3 of them on one line playing for the Marquette Iron Rangers in Michigan in the United States Hockey League in 1973 when I was broadcasting the games for the Thunder Bay Twins. All 3 of them on a line. So I've known them since they were teenagers.
And they could play a little too, right?
It was Steve. Steve was a really good hockey player.
Oh yeah.
No, he was the real deal.
Yeah, it's sad to see where that's going right now. He's still in the treatments, and hopefully that that the chemotherapy does a job, and he's able to come back and be on tour again, be something else.
Just to take, if I get time to take you back a step.
You bet.
You know the picture you showed with Jack and I?
Yeah.
Well, I had the bowling ball helmet on.
Yeah.
The only time in my life that in pro hockey that I wore a helmet. And the story behind it was the team was folding, we weren't getting paid, and the St. Louis Blues offered me a 5-year deal, and they said they'd buy me out of my contract. So I went to the Son, Moore, and Neil, and I said, guys, they're going to give you $50,000, a couple weeks pay, let me go. And so in the midst of that, I started wearing a helmet. I didn't want to screw up the deal, right?
Man, I thought you lost a bet wearing that helmet.
Sam Makita helmet. That was it in those days.
That was awesome.
Hey, Glenn, I don't know if you can see if Norm Bowden is there, but he and Andre go back a long way. If you want to just drop me out and bring Norm in, that would be
Norm is not with us, unfortunately.
Okay.
But if he does, we'll bring him right on. But I want to ask Morris, you called the Winnipeg Jets style the end of linear hockey. Will you talk a little bit about that European influence and the holding on to the puck and the weaving style and so on?
Sure. Glenn, there's something I want to say first,
though. Okay.
In my years of playing, I got blessed to play with some amazing players who were able to hang on to the puck and then at the appropriate time get it over to me. I was a player who was actually better without the puck, but because I was very, very quick, but I could get to a spot, and I could beat defensemen to that spot, and if somebody could get me that puck, I could score. And there were 5 amazing passers that I played with. One was Terry Ruskowski, Dale Howardchuk, Thomas Steen, Kent Nilsson, and the 5th one was Andre Lacroix. The very first time I played against Andre, and he was with San Diego, I was with Houston, I thought to myself, wow, this guy has got hands. Unbelievable. And Andre used a pretty straight stick, so he could pass forehand or backhand. And you showed that one goal earlier, that one clip, where Andre got that puck and he zinged it right across, and I one-timed it. So, Andre, it's fantastic to see you. And I have a question for Andre afterwards. But I will say about with the linear hockey is right when the Swedish players came over to the WHA, like where hockey had been so much up and down, they were shifting, they were changing lanes and coming with speed. And that was one of the beautiful things about the Hull Hedberg Nielsen line, was the way they all changed lanes and they came up the ice with speed. And as a small player, getting stuck on the wall is not a good place. And so for me to be able to change lanes, come in behind our defenseman, and then Schoberg, he'd have the puck, and like how nowadays they throw the puck back on the power play, I would go whipping in behind Schoberg, and he would throw the thing back, and then I could pick it up and come up the ice with speed. So there was, so it was, the Winnipeg Jets played an amazingly exciting brand of hockey right around 74, 75, 76 when the Swedish players came over. And then Andre, my question is, when Houston folded, where did you go? How come you didn't come to Winnipeg with us?
I had a clause in my contract that I had to agree. I couldn't be traded to Canada or go to Canada. And I was a free agent when the team went to Winnipeg. Okay.
Right.
Nobody contacted me from Winnipeg. Nobody. So it was not me as much as it was the Winnipeg Jets, to be honest with you, because because I was a free agent, you would think with the fact that the team moved there, they would contact me and say, by the way, we'd like to have you here. Can we talk? And because Quebec contacted me, I went to talk to the Quebec Nordiques, when I became one thing with all the teams that I played with, the one thing, I always negotiate my own contract. I had a lawyer to put legally on paper for me. But one clause I had to protect myself is if the team moved, if they changed ownership, I became a free agent. So when I went from the Blazers to New York, I went to New York because I thought the team would be there, because I figured the league has to have a team in New York. When the team folded, when the team moved to New Jersey, I became a free agent. When the team moved to San Diego, I became a free agent. Every year I was a free agent. But nobody contacted me from Winnipeg at the time, Morris, to say, we would like to talk to you about a contract in Winnipeg. Nobody. So that's one of the reasons I never went to Winnipeg.
Good story.
And then you ended up with Hartford, with New England.
Well, yeah, I ended up in Hartford because, you see, Howard Baldwin and I go back with the Flyers. When I was with the Flyers, Howard Baldwin was a ticket manager with the Flyers. So we became very good friends. And then when I became a free agent, Howard contacted me, about coming to Hartford. And the fact that Bill Deneen, who was probably one of the best coaches I ever had, went to Hartford, that made my decision a lot easier.
We're looking at Howard Baldwin right now when the All-Star game was played there. We want to mention that Norm Bowden has joined us, still in uniform. Hi, Norm.
He's never taken it off.
My last Jet jersey that I played with in 1976, as a matter of fact. And I've been listening to all the stories, and the stories are great. So we have to get to Whistler with a lot of people there, I tell you, because it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be a lot of fun. But the stories that we can keep talking about in Whistler will be great.
You could write a book about just this last hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Norm played 4 full seasons in Winnipeg, hardly missing a game in any of those 4 seasons. Talk about, Greg, if you would, you were one that I think saw the WHA as an opportunity that you otherwise weren't getting.
We got the wrong
exactly, Glenn, because in 1970, spring of 72, Bill Robinson came to Cleveland. And as a matter of fact, we met in some back alley because we didn't want to show anything to the John Muckler was there at the time. So we were hiding in a back alley and talking about the new league. And he was telling me that Bobby Hull was thinking of going to the new league. So I didn't hesitate to go. So right away he said, why don't you come to Winnipeg and we can talk about it and talk about a contract. So They flew me to Winnipeg after the season that was playing with Cleveland at the time. And it took me about an hour to sign the contract, even before, you see, when Bobby Hull heard I had signed, he jumped leagues. So,
Well, you
so-
were all members of the luxury line, and so you took advantage of your opportunity in 1972-73. And oh, by the way, each of you on the luxury line scored over 100 points. How about that?
yeah, like I was fortunate right from the beginning when I went to Winnipeg. And of course, Bobby Hull wasn't playing at the time. So I think he sat out about 10 games before he was allowed to play. And when he came back, fortunately, Chris Bordelot and myself and Bobby, we got together in practice. And, the rest is history. And we just got along so well. We were magic, as a matter of fact. The chemistry was outstanding. And we played like that the whole year and scored 101 some points, the three of us. So it was great. And, playing with Bobby was the ultimate goal in anybody's life, in the hockey life. So, and I was fortunate enough to play with him a full year. So I'll never forget that. And also Benny Haskins, one of the best owners in the WHA, who kept the league going. It was a pleasure playing for him. It was a pleasure playing in Winnipeg, and the fans were outstanding. They supported us right from the get-go. And I tell you, I'm happy. I'll never regret going to Winnipeg. That's for sure.
Do you remember the night against the Fighting Saints? I hope Rick wasn't there then, because you had a game against the Fighting Saints where you scored 3 goals and had 4 assists.
Yeah, everything was magic that night. I tell you, we had a
well.
game.
That's because Rick wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Rick wasn't there. Maybe it would have been a different game for me. But yeah, our line just flowed in that whole game, and everything went right. And I got 7 points, which was great. And again, I'll never forget it.
And we have a photo of you in the convertible after one of your victories. And so you're riding down, getting the adulation here. And what is that trophy that's riding in the convertible with you?
I think that's the O'Keefe trophy that we won.
That's the one they can't find.
I'm pretty sure.
That one's lost. Nobody can find that trophy.
That one, I don't have it.
No, nobody's blaming you, Norm. I haven't gone that far.
But I look pretty young there. Holy man, I can't believe it.
But you remember the lid that Rick had? You lost the bet to wear that shirt, man.
Well, as far as where the trophy is, have we talked to the driver of that car?
I don't remember who was driving, as a matter of fact.
He might have just driven off into the sunset with the trophy.
Possibly, yeah. Maybe it never got to the podium that we were going to. So, but again, it's super to just be talking to you guys and getting all these stories. And Andre, of course, #1 scorer in the league. It's fantastic. A magician, Andre was a magician. So it was a pleasure playing against him and against all you guys. I tell you, it was fun.
Hey, Morris, when the Jets joined the NHL, you were one of just a couple of players that the franchise was allowed to keep. But this was tough. You went from being a championship team, very unfair, maybe criminal is a better word, what they did in stripping your team and the other 3 teams that entered the NHL. How did life change for you going from the top to basically starting over with what essentially was an expansion team?
That next season, there were many times when I'd be sitting in the dressing room between periods and thinking, oh my gosh, how much I miss Ruskowski, Kent Nielsen, Rich Preston, Kim Claxton. like, and actually, to lose a man like Terry Ruskowski, who was on the call earlier, that man was such an amazing leader. Like, Andre got to play with him in Houston. And the question was asked of Terry, what made him such an incredible leader is he had a tenacity on the puck. Same with Andre. These great players, they have a hunger for that puck. The one thing that Terry would do, though, too, is like he would come in and save me or anybody. He would fight anybody. And that's what made him, I mean, that's why he was a captain. There was one night, Dave Semenko, somehow we had a run in along the boards, and he was just coming at me, and I was just getting ready to hit him as hard as I could over the head with my stick, and because Dave was scary. And Terry, literally, he stepped in, and he pushed me aside, and he says, "I've got this." And I mean, to do that, I mean, the courage that it would take to step in front of a really angry Dave Semenko, and Roscoe's nickname was Jackhammer, and he that night he actually won a fight against Dave Semenko, which for a guy who was 5'9" against, and Dave, I mean, it was amazing. And then I met Dave in years after playing old timer hockey, and heck, he was one of the funniest men I have ever met. He has a sense of humor. To get, like, I got lucky enough to play a tour, an old timers tour with Islanders and with Oilers, where we had Glenn Anderson, Dave Semenko, there was Butch Goring, Brian Trottier, a couple other guys, and Clark Gillies. And to have Clark Gillies and Dave Semenko beside each other, and these are two of the funniest guys I've ever met in my whole life. And they are the absolute quickest with the one-liner I've ever seen. And to be able to spend like 10 days on a tour, we were playing at First Nations locations. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Like, I fell in love with Dave Semenko. I wish I'd got to play with him because he was amazing. But this one time, he was going to kill me. And Terry, I mean, that's what made Terry a captain everywhere he went.
Morris, you talk about courage, and you have also showed a lot of courage in my book in recent years in speaking about concussions during your playing days. Is there anything that you can share with us about what you've learned in your post-playing career about concussions and their effects?
Well, the concussions were brutal. I will say one thing. There was one time I did get concussed in Edmonton, and I was with the Arrows, and a puck came across. I went to one time, and this Edmonton Oilers defenseman came up and boom, caught me right on the chin, and I went over backwards. But when I came to, I looked over, and here not only our trainer from the Arrows was on the ice, but Bill Deneen, who was the coach, was there. And how often does a coach come on the ice? And I remember I looked over to Bill and I said, "No, what are you doing out here?" And he said, "Son, I come out to see if you're still alive." I remember it so clearly. And I said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I really." And it was at Langevin that hit me. Langevin was so incredibly solid. And he said, "By the way, what city are we in?" And I thought about it for a second. I said, "Calgary." And he said, "Nope." He says, "You better come and sit beside me for a while." Yeah. Shortly afterwards, I was back in the game. So there's two things. When I left hockey, I went through some, and even during hockey, I went through some incredible depression. At times, lots of suicidal thoughts. And like, would it be better to discontinue, to just stop things? And so the black depression was horrible after hockey, but then so was the inability to focus. And luckily, along the line, I will mention this, as I came across a book called Wheat Belly that talked about the dangers of glutens, how glutens can many times mess up celiac, small intestine, but they may also be messing up people's minds. And it was amazing. I actually went absolutely cold turkey off all glutens, where I'd eaten whole wheat cereals, whole wheat pastas, and whole wheat breads for years. I stopped cold turkey, and amazingly, what happened for me was the depression went away. And so when I get an opportunity to talk about this, I do, because I just feel that for some people who are in today's society who are suffering from depression, just the possibility of stopping glutens may have that black cloud go away. And then as far as the concussions go, I think the concussions really contribute to an inability to focus. At times, and you may have noticed it on this call tonight, I may be talking about one thing and then all of a sudden I'll talk about another. Or like I go to do something, and one of the most challenging things I've found since leaving hockey is actually be able to take one thing and do it for whatever reason. And I think concussions may have contributed to this. I will start something, but then I want to do something else. And it's taken a lot of hard work and focus for me to actually just take and complete something, do something, finish it, and finish the story without. I mean, how many times did I go off on tangents here? I'm not sure. So just the ability to focus, I think, is or inability to focus is the result of all the concussions.
Well, I want to thank you very much for sharing that. Alex, I'll let you.
Well, I just want to.
Could I add to Alex's stories? I remember when he's talking about Gordie Howe. I just want to say one of the games that we were playing against Houston, I hit Gordie Howe, and all of a sudden he comes running at me. So Bill Friday happened to be close to me, and I says to Bill Friday, hold me back, because I didn't want to get hit by Gordie, of course. I didn't want to follow with the fight with Gordie.
No.
But Bill Friday saved me there.
Thank you. Listen, the head injuries. Came out a junior wearing a helmet and went into the WHA and took it off. Thought that was a good idea. I had more concussions hitting guys in open ices, and you go to the bench, and what was it? It was smelling salts. And you'll be okay, kid. Get back out there. I have this to this day now have problems with my coconut, and I have experienced depression. But the thing about what we have this platform to be able to help others and be useful with our experiences, not what we think should be done, but what happened and how we're dealing with it. And thank you for Morris for sharing that with us, because it's really important. Everybody's different, but we got this a very violent game that we played at a young age, and some of us were affected by it and some of us weren't, but the ones that are, we need to help and look after and support. And I really like that. I like the fact that these organizations are starting to do this more locally and also regionally. So it's a great thing.
And Jeff Turbison, who has left us early because he had another thing he had to get to tonight. He's written 2 best-selling books, but another one is coming very soon, and it's about Morris Lukowich. Is that not correct, Morris?
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
A book written about my times of playing with Gordie Howe and Bobby Holland, and sitting beside Ray Bork and playing with Dave Tiger Williams, having played in the WHA and the NHL. And when I got to play with Gordie in Houston, I met Gordie when I was 10 years old at an Eaton store in Saskatoon when I was 10, and I got to spend about 45 minutes with him, and I was there with my brother Ed Lukowich, former world curling champion, and we talked with him, and Gordie actually talked most of the time with my brother Ed. They talked about hockey, fishing, curling, golf, and one other thing. But it ended up that I just stood beside him, and I fell in love with Gordie at that time. And at the end, he went to sign me an autograph. And he said, Morris, what do you like most about hockey? And I said, I thought about it for a second. I said, Mr. Howe, I love to score goals. And he laughed. I remember he chuckled. And so he took this little card and he wrote down, and he was writing M-A-U-R-I-C to Maurice. And then I stopped him. I said, Mr. Howe, my name is actually Morris. It's M-O-R-R-I-S. And he said, well, but you said you love scoring goals. So Maurice Richard is one of the greatest scorers of all time. So are you okay if I sign it to Maurice? And I was thinking to myself, well, no, I don't like it. But who was I to tell Gordon how? I said, sure. Score lots of goals, Gordie Howe. And, I took that picture home and I put it up on the wall as a young 10-year-old. And right beside it, I put a picture of Bobby Hull pitching hay, which makes him look like the Hulk. And at night, I would say my prayers and I would say, Lord, please someday, can I play with Gordie Howe? And while you're at it, will you throw in Bobby Hull? And both came true. Like, to play with Gordie in Houston was unbelievable. And then to get to play with that amazing Bobby Hull, who I am in such gratitude to, because when he left the NHL and went to the WHA, he gave so many of us, like Andre said, he gave so many of us an opportunity to play professional hockey at a high level, and then eventually got to play in the NHL. So, I think it's going to be so amazing to be able to see Bobby Hull in Whistler. Really looking forward to it.
And your book is coming out soon, and Norm Bowden, your book is coming out soon as well, I understand.
Yeah, it should be ready at the end of January, so hopefully we get it going pretty soon.
Perfect. I hear the forward really well done. Oh, that was right. Never mind.
Couple other good works I want to mention, just like Morris's good works in making us aware of head injury and head trauma and what can cause. Rick Smith, you mentioned being a Stanley Cup champion. Tell us briefly about taking the cup to Afghanistan.
Ooh. Huh.
Ooh.
Yeah, emotional. He met with Lou Eddie Stanowski with the military, and Rick Hillier went to Eddie and said, I got a bunch of pro players and get them over there and play some hockey with the boys. And by the way, take the Stanley Cup with you. And Eddie, we're friends, and he asked me to go, and I kind of went, and then I thought of Don Cherry, and I said yes, but it was the most phenomenal experience of my life.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Must have been great.
That's awesome.
And Andre, off the ice, the NHL called you, NHL.com, in a story called you, quote, a tireless participant in team charity drives. And I wanted to recognize you for that and ask, does it go back to being the youngest of 14 children, or was there more involved why charity was so important to you?
The reason, when I was in Hartford, I started the Andre Lacroix Foundation for Giving. And the reason is because before that, when I played for the Flyers and the other teams, I always raised money for different charity. And at one point, I met a good friend of mine who was working for the May Company. He was the president of the May Company. And we had a dinner. And I asked her a question. I said, who's paying for that dinner? We were raising money for Children's Cancer Fund. He said, well, it's from the money that we raise. And I said, well, I don't need to eat a steak to raise money. I don't, I just didn't believe in money going to the executive. So he said, the president of the May Company said to me, Andre, why don't you start your own foundation? He said, the May Company will back you up. So I started the Andre Lacroix Foundation for Giving because I always had a soft spot for people with disability. And the nice thing about raising money for people for disability too is that they didn't have a clue I was a hockey player. They didn't know. And one time I had a red jacket, and then one person came to me and said, are you a fireman? Because he figured a red jacket, red may be fireman. I said, yes, I am. He says, well, you're a fire truck. I said, I can't bring it here. So the next meeting we had, I went to the fire department. I said, guys, you need to do me a favor. You need to bring a fire truck over. So they brought a fire truck over. And so now they believe that I was a fireman. But every year I raise about maybe $50,000 a year for children, with that were handicapped. And one thing that I'm proud of is when I was in Hartford, I built a special playground just for people with disability, because people that are in a wheelchair, they cannot go where the playground is because it's all salt or dirt. So we built a special playground in Hartford, outside of Hartford, for people with disability. And I think that's one thing I miss the most about not playing hockey, is to raise money for charity. I really mean that, because being from a big, 14 kids, we didn't have anything. My dad worked 2 jobs, and I was raised that way, and I wanted to make sure that if I was successful in hockey, if I had a chance to do something for others, I wanted to do it. And so I would have to say that hockey gave me the opportunity to help other people, and I'm so thankful for that.
Well, thank you, Andre.
Can I say, Andre, how far are you from Philadelphia now?
I'm in Cleveland now.
Oh, Cleveland, okay. No, I just Brad Marsh is doing phenomenal work with the Flyers alumni.
I know.
Wounded Warriors and things like that. Just
Brad's doing a great job. If I was in Philadelphia, I would be involved with Brad in a second. Absolutely.
Peter, I'll give you the last word if you want to spend it on reminding people where they can learn more about the October reunion in Whistler.
Absolutely. www.WHA1972.com. Tickets for the gala dinner, the legacy dinner honoring Bobby, Gordy, Alton White, Dennis Murphy, and Andre Lacroix will go on sale within 2 weeks on that website. The alumni hotel is the Delta Suites. The fan hotel is the Westin. The gala dinner is at the Westin. There's concerts every night. There's hospitality suites, memorabilia shows, autograph sessions, and an old timers game on the final Sunday afternoon. So hopefully people will go to that website and start making plans for October of next year. And you listen to Morris and Andre talk about their charitable work, and our foundation that we're raising funds for is the Bobby Hull Foundation for Children. Bobby Olfen-Anders will be there. I hope that everybody that's on this show will be there. I know Morris will be. And, we're just hoping that we can get as many alumni as we can. Not always just all the superstars like we've had on this show tonight, but anybody who ever laced a skate in the WHA. We're hoping that we can reach out to them, and there's some way that they can make it to Whistler, because it's going to be, if you heard the stories tonight, magnify that by about 20, and you can imagine the stories that'll be told, around the hospitality suites in that 4-day span. It'll be unbelievable.
Hey, Peter, I have so much stuff here. Went 2 hours and 10 minutes, and there's things I didn't even get to. We didn't even get to talk about the proposed Bobby Hull for Wilt Chamberlain trade. That's going to have to wait till next time.
Another show.
I want to thank you for organizing this one, getting everybody together.
All the guests for coming on.
All the guests for coming on. It has been a real pleasure, just a magical evening. Okay. Everyone, thank you so much.
Nice seeing everybody.
Thanks, Glenn.
Good.
Thank you so
much.
You guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Glenn.